Hey everybody, and welcome to my N5 series on the SP404 mk2, where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. Mike von Rossum, which is as close I think I get to pronouncing your name without hearing you pronounce it, it writes in with some pointers, tips, discussion questions around the count in wait for record sampling using the skip back buffer and zero cross points, and then also kind of wraps up with some issues around looping and getting like some audio defects. And I'll kind of cover some of this, at least explain why these things happen, and maybe try and give some suggestions for how to fix it. It's not always easy or perfect though, and sometimes you just have to know some of the tricks to try and fix it. So let's just start with the way our skip back buffer works. Right now I've got nothing in it. The mark is not lit. And if I tap it, it says no skip back triggered data. It's not going to trigger until we get some audio input. I have created an organ note here, intentionally panning it and doing like some other stuff to it to make it as a little bit harder to try and both use 0 point crossing and looping, because you'll see. So if I start playing it, first you'll notice Mark starts flashing. That's letting us know that it is recording. And if you got headphones on, you can probably hear that this is panning back and forth. And I get some like wow and flutter on this organ note. So if I let go and hit Mark, we can come in. And one thing we'll note is zooming in's pretty good. I mean, like it immediately, there's no extra audio at the start here. And the reason is because as soon as the skip back buffer detects that it is getting any audio, it starts recording. So you're not going to see like a start point like you would with a count in wait where there's like about 300 samples before the buffer, which is cool. A thing to note here is it's only showing one channel, and it can, I mean, this is a monochrome display. It can only render so much. So we're just seeing, if I remember correctly, it's the left channel. You can't see the right channel. So if I come back and actually play this, you can kind of hear it. You should, if you got headphones on, you should be able to hear it panning. But the problem is, because of the way that this is working, to Mike's point, the 0 point crossing can be problematic because we're really doing a 0 point cross on the left channel, not on both the left and right. And because we're panning left and right, where the left channel may have a 0 point cross, the right channel may actually be someplace else. And since we can't see on the display what is on the right channel, we unfortunately just have to do a best effort to do this. So just so we can get it out of the skip back, I'm going to hit record and we'll just drop it onto a pad. Now I can actually play it, and which is good. And a thing to note with the pulling it out of the skip back buffer like this, because it's initially just having silence, it is not going, it's both the left and right are going to be at a 0 point cross. It's not until the audio kicks in that it will have a problem. So I would say like it's not bad to use the skip back buffer for this instance, but if you come in to do a record, and I'll show you again, if we go to another pad and I've got it set to count in wait, so until it hears audio, it's not going to start recording. If I start recording here, we can, you might be able to see here on the display, we're panning left and right. We can actually see it. And if I let go and then hit record, again, if I come in and hit start, and we zoom in, you can see that there's like a little bit at the beginning here where it's got like 300 milliseconds, or not milliseconds, 300 samples or so. Shift enter, 371 in this case. So it's just, that's where it has just decided that it's kind of pulled back a little bit from when it started recording or saving the data. And this can be very helpful if you've got different types of transients or how the attack on your audio works. It will allow you to kind of pull back. So they're both the skip back buffer and doing the count in wait. They're very similar, but they also kind of give you some different benefits and potentially problems based on how you're going to be doing your recording. But I just want to kind of show the difference in what Mike was explaining. Now to go back again and talk about where, like, we'll intentionally come in here. Let's just pick a start point that is intentionally not at a 0 point. We'll go like high so you can kind of hear this. So if I go into like the high part of this waveform, you might not be able to hear this. I'm going to turn it up higher. I mean, in this case, it's not doing it much, but as I move it, you can kind of hear like clicks and pops, and it's kind of clicky. And it's because what's happening is the speaker cone cannot immediately go from 0 to a non-zero amount of samples. So you end up getting this pop because it basically is trying to push the energy or electricity to it, and it's going faster than it can. It's not a smooth transition, and audio is always smooth, and digital's kind of not. Like if you really zoom in and look, you'll see like a staircase kind of look on these views. Anyway, to solve this personally, a thing that I will frequently try and do is if I'm hearing those snaps or I don't like them, I will hold shift, pitch speed to get in here and put attack at 1. I know this isn't perfect because you're now changing some of the mechanics and dynamics of your sound, but it really does eliminate that pop. And I would say on the flip side, if we come in and I'm just going to edit this because we'll do this way. So I'm going to go start and end. I'm just going to come in and we'll just take another point that looks roughly in the same area. I'm not going to zoom in or anything. The reason I'm going to do this is I want to go truncate, and because I want to turn this into a sustained note that will play forever. We'll turn loop on. Let's just zoom in. Set the loop point. Make sure it's at the start. So let's see. Yeah, you can. If you had the headphones on, you should be able to hear it. Like it popped when it came in and played again. Let's even just make this shorter so we don't have to play it for so long. So you're hearing that pop. So we got a nice 0 point cross at the beginning because of the envelope, but it's not going to carry that over because it's not replaying the envelope. It's now hitting a spot where it's up high and it's not a 0 point cross. And again, we're only looking at the left channel, so we don't have a good way to control the left and right channel at the same time, other than some of these like more heavy-handed, like the envelope. So you might think you could come in and do shift envelope and do like a release of 1 as well. But the problem is I mean, like it's helping, but there's kind of an audible, like it goes to 0 and stops playing the sound. So honestly, this just becomes as much an art form as science if you're going to try and fix this. So let's say I come in, go 0, whoops, not 127, go 0, 100, 0 for the envelope. We'll exit out. What I now really need to do, if I want to actually fix this, and I might not be able to do this easily, is we're going to try and find a low point here. Let's get out of looping for a second. And I'll just do this visually. I'll just try and find a spot that looks like it's close to 0. So we'll do 0 here. I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm just going to move, whoops, I'll do the loop. We'll do this here. And we're going to try and do 0. But again, you got to remember when it's low here on the left channel, it's because of how I got the panning, it's high on the right channel. So it's just going to be a fight to try and get this to work. I'm just going to pick a point. We'll hope that I got something decent here. Let's just see how it sounds. So once through, I'm hearing that click. So I'm kind of stuck with a click already. The click is probably coming from the right channel. So what I'm going to have to do, go pitch speed, and I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to just say left channel. We're going to go mono and only pick the left channel. Let's see if this is any better. Yeah, I probably actually should do 0 point cross. I'm not going to bother, but it's one of those things. You just need to sometimes sit there and keep tweaking it and moving and adjusting that point until you get it just right. And this is, as I said, it's as much an art form as a science, because especially on the SP404 Mark II, where you can't see both channels, we're kind of stuck. In a traditional sampler, what you'd actually have is something that would allow you to do a crossfade between the two, so that at the start and end points, it would at least kind of fade the two in together, and you'd be able to get a nice solid looping point that you could tune and do without having to do quite so much work. Unfortunately, we can't do that on the SP404 Mark II right now. Maybe they'll add that as a feature in the future, although I kind of doubt it, because we have so many shortcuts already to get through, but maybe they'll find a place to stick that in. So I know I'm not necessarily helping you solve the problem, but I'm just saying, like, it's worth trying to see what you can do. Like, if I like this, I might say, hey, like, this is something I could actually turn into a sustained loop. Come in and at least try and hide it, where I'd say, like, as again, come in with this, turn it on, loop on, let it play. Let's put just put the attack and release on, and at least try and hide it in a longer piece of audio. It's still not perfect, but at least it gets us the ability to try and use this. And when you start layering in like drums and other sounds, you might be able to push that into the back of the mix and it wouldn't be as noticeable. Otherwise, I'd say just take and try and record. Whoop, didn't mean to bump the mic. Try and record longer sections of audio. So instead of doing like a 1-bar loop, do like a 4-bar or 8-bar loop, because the longer you can extend your recording, the more you're pushing those loop point problems out into the future. And then you could do things like a nice subtle fade out when you want it to come out, and just fade out before your audio causes this problem. Anyway, I don't know if I've been super helpful or not for you, but as I said, I'm just trying to give you like some of the things I would at least think about doing on the SP404 Mark II to try and fix or resolve some of these things and see if it helps you. Anyway, thanks for the question. Thanks for reaching out. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music. Keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And peace.